What's up, everyone, and welcome to ClearTalk. As you can see, I've also already made a few more changes in between last video and this video, just within the past like 30 minutes. Adjusted the screen out a little bit more, trying to give a little bit more fulfilling look. Kind of similar to, this look, but with everything there, because I was getting kind of tired, and it almost seemed it almost, although a lot of YouTubers do this, and ask for constantly for, hey, subscribe to my channel, like, share, do all the things. I it gets very tiresome to ask for that. And I don't really want to do that every channel. So I kind of wanted to get to where all information that you needed for me, for JMD Nation, for the channels, was here on the screen already. You have access to it right over here. Whether it's the channels or the one-time donation or Patreon above there, everything is there. However you want to interact or support with my channel, it's already on the screen, and I don't have to necessarily address it, because I mean, this is YouTube, right? Everybody knows what goes on YouTube, like what you're here for. You're here to watch. If you like what you watch, you'll subscribe. If you like what you subscribe to and you're getting continuous stuff, you're very likely to want to support the person. So, everything is here that you need access to. That way I don't really have to even worry about addressing it, or, not that I don't, not that I don't feel that it is important to some degree. But I don't want to sit here and act like I'm begging for it. It's like, you can do it or you don't. And that's just the way it is, right? Would I love you to? Sure. Yeah, of course. It helps the channel out. It helps me out. It helps keep this going and growing and all that good stuff, which I've already talked about, but I don't want to sit there and do that over every channel, right? I mean, every video, right? So, everything is here. This is going to be kind of the basic layout for all the channels whenever I do a video for that channel, whether it be, for JM Drummer, for JMDPLAY, for the puzzling channel. Well, that one might be a little different, but I can always change this icon, to whatever channel I'm doing at the, for that particular video. So there you go. Now on to the video. I wasted 3 minutes. So in this video, we're going to be talking about Trump and Elon. That was the last big thing before all this week's LA stuff, right? So yeah, Trump and Elon. Oh, that's so last week. We're over that, because news flies by in this era. Things are constantly so chaotic that something can't even stay in the news long enough for people to really get a grasp on it before something else is slapping them in the face. Trump and Elon. This is something I think that we have seen, or I have thought was ultimately going to happen at some point. It seemed like, as much as they seem to be in cohorts with each other, like they seem to really bond, they seem to really, the bromance thing and power. I mean, ultimately, we know that both of them are wealthy, spoiled, man children. I mean, both of them are. Look at the way they act. We know this. Even supporters of Trump cannot deny that he is quite adolescent at times. He acts like a spoiled brat. He's rich. If you are denying that, I don't know what rock you've been under, or what brainwashing you've had. But Elon's no different. They're both ultra wealthy, from birth, from the beginning. It's not like they've ever had an issue with not having money or means. And they're spoiled. They get whatever they want, whenever they want. So to have that, ultimately, those two were at some point going to clash, because even with that, as a something that they both have, they also both have different purposes for what they're about, right? Trump is about all his like ego and his personal like wealth and like this sort of what he plans to be known for, after he's gone. The Trump name, the buildings, the gold, all these things he wants associated with himself. Fame, whatever, popularity, adoration. Elon, on the other hand, is kind of more in the tech, like he just wants to be, he wants to have power in, in the corporate sphere, like in power in resources to what he, his ultimate goals of getting to Mars and shit like that, right? I mean, they're a little different. While Trump also is they're both kind of business-like, but Trump is more personal than he is corporate, really. Even though he doesn't mind helping out his corporate friends. But Elon is more like full on, like he wants all the business and everything to come to him. And that's where this sort of this breaking ultimately, like this is what it came to. Because you had Elon getting upset about this big, beautiful bill, right? That Congress was working through. And there were things in the bill that he wanted that he wanted to be put in there. There were things that he wanted to be put in the bill, and things he wanted to be taken out of the bill. But GOP lawmakers and Trump himself didn't agree and wanted things different. So there was automatic, and the things that Elon wanted was to benefit him. The things that Trump and the GOP wanted is to benefit them, or at least give them the persona that they don't want to completely look like they're just giving. It's a giveaway to the rich, right? They wanted to somewhat show or look like they were trying to put some sort of regulation or some sort of like ceiling on the ultra wealthy or something like that. Or at least to some degree, things that would affect Elon, where, he wouldn't get certain contracts or he wouldn't get certain, financing or whatever the case. Anyways, certain things that they wanted, which you could argue to some degree is not a horrible thing. I think some of people even on the left would be like, that's kind of based. It doesn't really go far enough, but it's kind of based, like that kind of regrettable, damn, he's doing something that makes him look good. It works out to some degree, but it's, it certainly isn't as far as we would want it to go, because it's not, they certainly wouldn't want it to go any further than that. But anyways, so things are not, weren't working in the way Elon wanted as far as this big, beautiful bill. So he critiqued it. He, being the kind of outspoken, very much just like Trump, just says shit, doesn't think about it. Just like his salutes and his everything else that he's done. He spoke on it openly that he didn't like it and he thought it was bad. And that upset Trump. And so, And then you had him already making his exit because he got so much issues going on with his companies and them wanting to get rid of him because of the stuff, the political like issues that have been swarming him being the head of Doge, but not really being the head of Doge, but we all know that he really was. And the problems that Doge was causing for everybody, just a complete unconstitutional, breaking apart of organizations and agencies and firing of federal workers and all kinds, like all the mess and stuff that it was doing. Hands in Social Security, hands in Medicaid, hands in everything, and all the accusations and stuff. It was creating a bad visual in connection to Musk for all the companies, for Starlink, for Tesla, for well, X already looks horrible, but it's so you have like Tesla already looking at trying to remove him. We had that stuff going on. Starlink, I've always thought Starlink should remove him. I think Starlink would be way better without him. And I mean, it's not like he really contributes that much to Starlink in the first place, outside of just marketing. And well, that's a big thing, but and personally, because of all the shit that has happened with Doge, I quite frankly, personally, hope that something happens. I hope that, he somehow sees some sort of courtroom at some point with indictments and everything else litigated out on whether or not anything action that Doge took was legal or not. Or, I hope it all somehow comes to fruition in that way at some point. And I hope his whole world somehow falls apart, quite personally. Just like I think that Trump and his whole world needs to fall apart. I think he needs to be litigated out a little bit more, and in some of the actions that he's taken and his administration has taken, along with a league of other things. There's that we can get to that in another time. But it was ultimately, this clash I felt like was going to happen. I just didn't know when or how and to what degree, because they both had a lot to lose, really. They both have a lot to lose if they really hit at each other, because what you've happened with them two is you've just really, them two coming together, like, brought together two parts of the Republican, not only Republican Party, but the Republican base, the ones that really like Musk, the ones that really like Trump, and they come together and they're like, oh, we got something in common, and all this, and for them to break apart, then you wind up with the base, the supporters, having to kind of break with, okay, what side do I go to? Who is right? Who is wrong? What's more important to me? You would wind up, so they really had a lot on the line, just even in support for both of them. Now, I feel like Trump ultimately has a stronger influence on the base and on Republicans and the GOP, whole thing, as a whole, way more than Musk, I think. But at the same time, you just have to reckon with them breaking in like a harsh manner, that it would somehow put some fractures in not only the GOP, but even in the base, even supporters and stuff. And so you just really I didn't think that it would be too crazy. But this really, I mean, it got a little hot for a second, right? Accusations, bad-mouthing, both of them, tweeting and truthing and putting each other down. I mean, it was like, the Musk throwing out, about the Epstein files and stuff, which, I mean, most of us already kind of figured was the case anyways, but to have somebody within that, that whole sphere actually say it out loud was a whole nother thing. So now, since then, they have, to some degree, kind of played a little bit nicer. Elon had apparently come out and like somewhat took back a little bit of it, apologized, like, I went a little overboard. I was just upset, that kind of thing, that, man, I still love you, man, but, I just don't agree with you, that kind of shit. But you have to wonder just how much this did fracture in people, and whether or not ultimately something else gets said or something else, happens and they go further. I mean, Elon's also thrown out about, creating another party, and, that could still potentially happen, which would fracture the unity of the Republican Party even more in the GOP. You've had a fracturing a little bit in the GOP, like the lawmakers and politicians, as far as those that are more tech driven versus ones that are more, ideologued in the Trump, MAGA, and everything else. I mean, it was interesting. Now, at the moment, because of the situation happening this week, it's been kind of overshadowed and almost kind of put in the back burner. Like, people at this point have almost forgot about it, I think, which is kind of the case with everything in the news right now. Like, it's been since Trump took over. Like, you hear about something and then something else takes over within a couple of days and you forget about that thing. And then another thing takes over and you forget about that thing. That's constant. More than usual. I mean, yeah, that to some degree is always the case, but this has been way more than faster pace. And one thing you think is crazy enough, you don't think it can get any crazier. Suddenly, fuck, it gets crazier. Ultimately, I personally don't care what happens to either one of them. I think it's funny. I think it's, nothing but beneficial for me and, people outside of the Republican Party in general, because it's like the more they fight and the more things accidentally get said, especially the way they just like to blurt shit out, both of them, and they're like tantrum, man baby tantrums, you wind up with that possibility of things getting said that shouldn't have been said, like the Epstein things. And so I think it's a good thing. I think it works out for a lot of us, and then raises questions for those who may have thought there were no questions to be had, even within the party. So, I think it was interesting. I think it was overall, I think it's overall a good thing. Everybody was asking for Elon to be out anyways. I mean, myself, he needed to be gone. And he is now, he has even said that he was not going to contribute to politics anymore. We're not great. Stay the hell out of it. And I mean, like, completely, like, money and all, like, we don't need you in politics. We don't need you trying to run shit or trying to have any kind of control, but at the same time, I don't have a problem with it causing trouble with Trump either. So personally, I think it was great. Now, how it affect the GOP and the base and what fracturing it may have created, and whether or not that fracturing will sustain or or grow, or will just be, kind of glossed over and, padded up or whatever the case. Who knows? I guess we'll have to continue watching, and see where where things go from here. If things persist, or if it just quiets down and they go their separate ways, and then how things are reacted to, especially the stuff that did come out. Whether or not people will continue, to all those, like, they would be like, what about Epstein? What about Epstein? Or whatever the case, like. Will this give a rebirth to that? To, like, is Trump actually in the files? Is that the reason why things are not actually being released? Because we had the whole issue where the Epstein files were supposedly released, but they were even more redacted than previously, and there's a complete nothing burger. It was. And what additional was released was completely pointless. We know, we've seen the videos, we've seen the pictures. Trump and Epstein were good friends. They were pretty good friends. They were together a lot. Trump and it's already released that Trump and Melania, had relations the first time in Epstein's plane. So, or his boat, whatever one it was. Yes, the bromance is broken up. Elon is out, and more power to him. He needed to be gone. And whatever came of the backlash to Trump, I'm here for it, and we'll continue to watch it. But let me know what you think of the whole issue. It was just, this was more just sort of a light issue before I got into the more darker shit, unfortunately, maybe. But I wanted to just go ahead and get it out of the way, since it was the last kind of big thing that I missed recently. So let me know what you think about the whole situation. Who do you think come out on top, if they did, or who was right or wrong? Or I think they were both right to some degree, and both had points that were actually accurate to some degree. But yeah. Do you think it's going to actually fracture and break anything in the party or the base, or cause at least some questions, maybe? Or some outcry for some honesty, perhaps? As weird as that sounds for Republicans and the GOP, I don't know. Let me know in the comments, and until next time, peace, clear talk. I'm out.